Hi and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well and keeping safe. Now for today's video I've got 7 underrated weapons in Call of Duty Warzone, and I love using underrated or non-meta weapons because they're kind of more rewarding and exciting to try something out which just isn't that sort of standard assault rifle SMG loadout that pretty much everyone runs. And when you beat someone who is using those loadouts with something that's just a little bit bonkers, they kind of sit there and go, wait, how did I die in 4 bullets to an SMG? That doesn't make any sense, and I'm at like 50 meters. This is weird, what is going on? And it's great fun to do things like that. Now some of these clips are from within Plunder just because it's easier for me to sort of fine tune the exact loadout and find exactly what I think works best on each of those weapons. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Number 1 on my list is the VLK shotgun. Now a few months ago the shotgun's got a small little nerf to the fact they can't one shot down. It's not really a small nerf, it's quite a big nerf. They can't one shot down anymore, so you require 2 shots to down someone. So the pump shotgun saw a huge drop off and they're just completely ineffective within Warzone. However, things like the VLK, which have a pretty high cycle rate with about 150 rounds per minute rate of fire, still are able to down someone within about 400 milliseconds, which is hugely competitive. For attachments, I'm using the Forged Tac Marauder muzzle, which increases the damage range by a huge amount and also tightens up that spread a little bit on the shots when you're aimed down sight. The Warlord barrel also does the same with the pellet spread and increases the range. Now it's not quite as effective as the Tsar barrel for a range, but it doesn't impact the movement speed. You pair that with the no stock attachment and you get a movement speed up to about 100%, which is great for closing the distance, especially in close quarters, and you're going to require that on the shotgun because your effective 2-shot kill range is only about 10 meters, so MP5s and other SMGs are going to outrange you quite quickly. In close quarters, they can't really touch you, but they will start ranging you out quite quickly. I also use the 5mm laser because it massively impacts your sprint at times, and because you're hip firing an awful lot with this weapon, this is a very key stat to have. And then finally, obviously using the Dragon Breath rounds, and these are just great fun, partly just for their great fun. Secondly, it does actually push the 1-shot or the 2-shot range out a little bit more, and also you can burn people to death like this fella, so I'd highly recommend giving this a go. It's a bit of a pain to unlock because you have to get long shots with a scout optic on it, which is just stupid, but that's just Call of Duty. There are some attachment slots that are really stupid. Next up is the king of close quarters, and this weapon is second to none on killing people in close quarters and can drop someone within close quarters in about 200 milliseconds, which nothing can compete with, not even the new FAL. I mean, sniper rifles technically can no-scope you or quick-scope you in the head and kill you faster, but pretty much nothing kills you faster than this thing in close quarters, and you're able to wipe like entire squads without having to reload. This thing is the king of close quarters, and this is the Origin 12. On the Origin 12 I'm running the Monolith Expressor because it increases the range a little bit and keeps you off the radar, the Impaler barrel, which increases your range a little bit more and tightens up that spread of those shells when you're aiming down sight, the 5mm laser because, let's be fair, you're hip firing all the time with this thing and it increases the sprint at times like I said previously, the no stock attachment because you don't care about recoil and you just want that movement speed back, and then I run the 12 round mag. You can run the 25 round mag, but I feel like it impacts the movement speed so much. I think it drops it by about 10%, which is huge. Only dropping it a little bit with the 12 round mag I think is far more than enough. The 12 rounds sees you through pretty much every fight, and the reload speed is pretty decent on this weapon as well, so I don't think it really needs that extra sort of 13 rounds. You can reload within those times. But this is the king of close quarters and nothing competes with it in those building clearing environments. Next up is probably my favourite weapon to use within Warzone. It's not the most effective weapon, but this thing is so much fun to use, and that is the Crossbow. On the Crossbow I'm using the 28 strand cable because it increases the velocity of the bolt, the Thunder arms because again it increases the bullet velocity, bolt velocity, and increases the damage range that you can actually one-shot with the bolt. And then using the Fury bolts, which are the explosive bolts, the Sleight of Hand perk, which is kind of like a must. Without the Sleight of Hand, your cycle rate on getting more shots out is so slow. And then finally I'm using the Tac laser to increase that aiming stability and that ADS speed because you're not really going to be hip firing this weapon. Now with the explosive bolts, they are able to one-shot down any player in the body. Any player, sorry, not even on the body. Even if you hit them in the toe, the explosion will down them. It does enough damage to just break anyone, even though they're using EOD. However, they're not using EOD like that last fella. It will, if you down them with the bolt, the explosion will finish them off and send them straight to the gulag or straight home. This thing is so much fun to use and is incredibly rewarding. And within close quarters, as long as you're hitting people within the chest, you're pretty much downing them with that bolt and then finishing them off with the explosion. This thing is so much fun to use, and the reactions you will get out of people when you kill someone with a crossbow are absolutely priceless. We won a game the other night and I killed this fellow with a crossbow, and his reaction was let's say, amusing, to say the least. It is great fun, and I'd highly recommend giving this a go. It is a hoot of a weapon, and surprisingly very effective. Once you get the use of the damage drop, the bolt drop, you can kill people from a very long distance away, and they'll have no idea where they got shot from or what they really got killed with. It's so fun. Though, if you do miss your shot, you are a little susceptible to getting killed straight away. You have to hit your shots, so accuracy is king with this fella. Next up is the Kar98. Now the Kar98 itself is not massively underrated. I do think what is underrated about it is using a low zoom optic. This allows you to aim down sight even faster, it doesn't give you a sniper glint, and it allows you to reload all 5 shots at once, whereas if you're using the sniper scope you have to reload each individual shell shot into the Kar98. For the attachments, I'm using the monolithic suppressor because it increases the bullet velocity, range, and keeps you off the radar. The Singuard Arms 27.6 inch barrel, which increases bullet velocity out to the same as like the AX50, the tac laser for the increased aim down sight speed and the stability, and then the Cronin C480 Pro optic with the T-pose reticule. And I find this is hugely useful, having this reticule on it rather than the red one. I think it allows me to equate for bullet drop a little bit more, and then finally I'm running out with the hollow stock, which has a higher ADS speed as well. Now with this, it's crazy how fast you can aim down sight with, and you catch so many people, so many other snipers off guard because you're not coming out of cover with a glint. You're just able to be there straight on, snap onto targets super quickly. And I think there's an awful lot of people that will sort of stand in the open and sort of scan the area. If they see a glint, they'll duck back in straight away. If they don't see a glint, they'll kind of stand still for a couple seconds longer, and you can pick people off so quickly with this weapon. Also, being able to reload with all 5 shots rather than reloading individual allows you to have a higher cycle rate, and I feel it's so effective, and I'd highly recommend giving it a go. It's a pain in the arse to unlock the T-pose sight on this site because you have to go through like 2 other scopes to unlock it, but it is so effective and so much fun. I'd highly recommend giving this one a go. Next up is the Striker 45 with the hollow point rounds. Now this thing has a huge skill ceiling. If you hit your shots, this thing is absolutely devastating. If you miss your shots, you will die an awful lot because you only have those 12 rounds. However, if you are able to hit one burst, both of those 2 shots to the head within the 50-meter range that this thing is before it gets a damage drop off, you will be doing up to 154 damage. So you'll be able to outshoot assault rifles with an SMG out to 50 meters, which is crazy. For attachments, I'm using the monolithic suppressor, the 400mm stainless steel barrel, the VLK optic, the commando foregrip, and the hollow point rounds. If you want to make your weapon a little bit more effective at close quarters, you can swap out the commando foregrip and the VLK optic for the void rear grip and the sleight of hand perk. It will allow you to cycle your bullets a little bit faster, and it's got fairly decent iron sights. However, I find that what it excels at is that sort of 50-meter range, and you can get 2 burst kills out to that 50-meter range. If you're hitting 1 burst into the head and 1 burst into the upper chest, you can drop someone in 4 bullets, which is pretty much unparalleled. No other weapon can be that accurate out to that range and kill people that quickly with these handling stats. This thing is crazy, and it is so much fun to use, and it will really shock people how quickly you can drop someone with an SMG out to such crazy ranges. Now, you do have to obviously hit your shots. If you miss your shots, this weapon becomes very ineffective and you will die very quickly to a lot of other weapons that are full auto. But in the right situations, you can absolutely demolish people with this weapon. It is great at stripping armor because, as I said, you only need to hit that 1 burst of the head and you'll break armor and put someone down to 100 health. So it's great, and I'd highly recommend giving it a go, but as I said, you have to be in that accurate state of mind. Next up is the AUG with the 5.56 conversion. Now, I have loved the AUG ever since it was introduced to Call of Duty. I love it it's not even just Call of Duty, I love it in all games. It's one of my favourite weapons of history. I love this thing. Now, back in the day when Warzone was first released, this was the go-to close quarters weapon, and it received a small little nerf a few months back where it dropped its damage number by like 1, I think, from like 40 to 39, which meant it took a little bit longer to kill in close quarters. However, I still think it's one of the best SMGs in the game, with one of the longest range stats. Now, I know it's not the most effective weapon in super close quarters because it has slightly slower handling speeds to something like the MP5. However, for the attachments, I run the monolithic suppressor, the 407 extended barrel. If you can deal with the recoil from the increased recoil from the 5.56, I'd use the light barrel instead of the extended one, but I like that little extra recoil control. I then use the tac laser because it's got the largest increase to aim down sight speed of about 20% after you've stuck all your attachments on, so I find that's the best one when you've got a slower ADS speed. I'm using the Merc foregrip at the moment, partly because I think it's bugged. I'm not sure it's actually intended to, but it increases your movement speed to about 4%, which is huge, and it kind of counters counteracts the drum mag, which reduces your movement speed by about 6%. So you keep about a 95% movement speed. So this is like an SMG AR hybrid, and this thing absolutely shreds in close quarters. And with a 60 round mag on it, you can wipe an awful lot of people without reloading. It also has a very respectably fast reload speed. This thing is great, and I'd highly recommend giving it a go. It's a lot of fun to use, and in its effective ranges, it's one of the best of weapons. I think it's great to pair with a sniper rifle because it gives you that sort of mid to close range fight, whereas the sniper rifle is obviously going to take you to mid to long range. And I think this just rounds out the class really nicely. If you don't like the iron sights, you can drop one of the attachments for an optic. I'd probably recommend dropping like the barrel or maybe the tack laser for an optic, and it will sort of make it a little bit easier for you to pick out sights if you don't like them. Finally, we get to the MG34. Now this weapon has some negatives. It's the slowest moving, slowest handling and slowest reloading weapon in the game, but its time to kill is absolutely crazy. Only a couple weapons managed to edge this one out on its time to kill, and you really can't turn your nose up at that. As for attachments, I'm running the monolithic suppressor because of the increased damage range, the bullet velocity and the staying off radar, obviously very impactful in Warzone. I'm running the Merc foregrip because of the previously stated bugged 4% movement speed increase, the tack laser because it's the largest single attachment increase to ADS speed within the game, and this weapon needs all the help in that department. I'm then running a reflex sight because I don't really like the iron sights. However, if you do have the blowtorch variant of the blueprint of this gun, the iron sights are actually pretty decent on it, and I'd drop the optic out for something like stipple grip tape or maybe even sleight of hand. Sleight of hand's quite an impactful one on this weapon because its reload speed is about 8 seconds, which is the main reason I'm running the 100 round mag. It allows me to down nearly an entire squad without needing that 8-second break from combat. So yeah, I think it's almost a must-have, especially considering it has nearly an 850 round per minute rate of fire for this weapon. You zip through that standard 50 round mag so quickly, and then you're stuck with that really long reload speed. So I think the 100 round mag, especially in Warzone, is a sort of must-have. But you do have to, that said, you do have to play quite passively with this weapon, but the reward is huge. Your time to kill, and you can drop an entire squad so quickly with this thing. Now it's best to pair this weapon with a high movement speed weapon. I've paired it with the MP7 here, but you could pair it with one of the shotguns that I mentioned earlier, or something like the MP5. Just gives you something to move around because, as I said, the movement speed on this weapon is one of the slowest in the game, and you are going to need all the help to move around the map. It only has that one damage drop-off point, so even out to above 40 meters, it will still drop people really quickly. Though with a slow bullet velocity of about 800 meters per second, you will need to equate for bullet drop and lead time. Anyway, that has drawn me to the end of these weapons that I recommend giving a go because they're a little bit out there, but they're a hell of a lot of fun to use. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video and maybe found a weapon that you might want to give a go in Warzone. If you have any other suggestions for me or have some underused weapon that you feel I haven't mentioned in this, please leave it in the comment section below and I will definitely give it a go. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and I shall see you next time. Goodbye for now. Bye.